But today we must take a wider look. Because of modern communication and modern technology, the whole world has become our neighborhood. And we are demographically moving closer and closer to each other, and we've become a neighborhood without becoming a brotherhood.
Journeyman is a platform where men can lay down their titles, grow together, learn from each other, and be accountable to each other. Many of us deal with several problems throughout our lives, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. At times, we may feel alone in our troubles. However, Journeyman is a space where you can feel safe expressing yourself with other men that are on the same path. Journeyman is a space for people like myself who never thought they would be living purposefully in their life.
All right, man. Wow, we are here. Sharpen is back, and man, I'm excited to have a guest in the room tonight. And as always on Sharpen, we have a song like you're stepping into a WWE wrestling ring, and this is my brother Johnny's song, and it's obviously, we don't own the rights to this, but it's redeemed by Big Daddy Reeve. And if you got time to download that on your iTunes, take a listen to it. Take a listen to the words. It's a powerful story. But man, I am excited, man. Welcome, fellas. Welcome back to Sharpen. We are here. You're gonna get used to me here, man. As you can see, we were missing our other co-host, Patrick. He's somewhere on the islands of Honolulu or something, man. Like drinking coconut milk. I don't know what they do out there.
Jealous.
I'm jealous too, man. But so we shout out to Patrick. He's having a good time with his spouse and on vacation. So enjoy yourself, man. But we're here again. Journeyman is here with Sharpen, a platform for men to have a very organic conversation. Just to be able to share stories and highlight different topics that men deal with daily, but as well as we believe that men are who are living out the mission of Journeyman. And Journeyman is about creating, communities of support, commitment, and accountability to strengthen the lives in the areas of faith, family, community. And so every guest that is on here has we believe is living that mission out. And our conversations, we're about commitment and accountability, man. And that's what we see. And we focus not only just on our weaknesses, but what we're good at times as well. And we love to learn from one another, man. And so that, I believe, creates a community that is a continuance of increasing our knowledge and skill with one another. We're faith-based, but others are really just talking about the salvation, which is essential. We want to dive a little bit deeper, and that's what these conversations on Sharpen are about. And we want to talk about the things that folks aren't really talking about, which is commitment, accountability for the support of the journey, man. And so I'm excited. I'm excited. So I get to have my brother Johnny in the room tonight. He's a busy guy, but he is making time tonight to be with us here on Sharpen. And so thank you for joining us, Johnny, man. Thank you for being here. Again, if you're following us on our social media platforms, do us a favor, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, hit the notifications, like, and all that type of stuff. It'll help with getting the word out. And if you're also watching us, feel free to chime in the chat with any comments or questions, shout outs, or whatever. Would love to see that as well. So, man, Johnny Garcia, man, what we like to do is when we start off the conversation is let's just check in and how was your week? And I'll try to model that for you so you can kind of see what that looks like. But usually Patrick's here and we have that. But for me, it's been a busy week, busy couple weeks actually since the last time of Sharpen episodes. And one of the things that I'm really learning this season is the willing to balance life, and especially in the area of health. And so I'm excited because this journey never gives up of health. I mean, it's always a fight, right? A fight for time, health, and so I'm excited just because I've made time for that. For a while it's been a little rough patch, but carving out time for being healthy, emotionally, mentally, physically as well. So, how was your week? How was your month? What does that look like for you, man?
Oh man,
How's your
I have
energy?
more than I think we need more than this time. First of all, thank you, Jose,
Yeah,
for having me here. I'm honored, humbled. Thank you guys for having me here. I appreciate it.
yeah,
Yeah, busy week.
yeah.
All every day seemed like it was a Monday this week.
Right.
And I will kind of get into it, but we have a big event that we're finishing up that we're having this Saturday for our chamber. So so we have that. We have a new employee starting with our chamber, and we still have my insurance office. We have an employee that's still training as well too.
Yeah.
And so trying to balance, and then so yeah, it's
Wow.
life's a balance, and then also making time for family, and then probably get into that too. But
Yeah.
having my son being gone for a while, so that's a lot of emotions this
Yeah.
last week
Yeah.
too, and a lot of ups and downs. But yeah, it's almost the weekend, and
Yeah.
yeah.
You're almost there. That they got a big event coming up this Saturday, so I'm excited to hang with you all there at the chamber. But before we go into that, man, let's just start. Like, who is Johnny Garcia, man? Where are you from? Where were you born? What did your childhood like look like? How did you form Johnny Garcia to now? Like, what did that look like?
Who is Johnny? I
Yeah.
have no idea yet.
Hey.
um, I'm a child of God. So,
Yeah.
man. So yeah. So I was actually born in Modesto.
Okay.
Lived here for I don't know about a month or so. My real father, he was in the army,
Okay.
so he got stationed in Italy. So
Wow.
actually, myself, my mom, and him moved to Italy after I
Wow.
was born.
Mm.
So I lived over there for maybe 4 or 5 years ish. We were over there, came back over here to the United States, moved around California a few times, um, and then went Stockton and ended up in Sonora.
Mm.
And then that's where my mom ended up leaving my real father.
Mhm.
And from there, went to stayed in Sonora, lived in Sonora for a couple of years, and then moved back to Modesto when my mother met my stepfather.
Yeah.
Um, when I was probably like about fourth grade.
Wow.
Um, Kind of been here since then. Graduated high school and then moved to Fresno.
What school? What high school?
High school, Davis High.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
Spartans.
We're rivalries. I'm a Downey Knight, man.
I think all the schools here are all rivalries. So
No, that's
yeah,
awesome, man. Congrats. Yeah.
yeah.
Go
And
ahead.
then went to Fresno State.
Yeah.
Had my son, my daughter, and then moved back.
Yeah.
There's a lot in between too. I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll touch on that too. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the short version
Right.
or the pre-version of everything else. So
Yeah, yeah. So in the time, so by the time you were in high school here, what was your trajectory? What was your goal? What was it like? What is it that you wanted to do like at that time?
you know what? I had no idea. I
Yeah.
know that because we grew up not having a lot of money
Hmm.
when we lived in Sonora. I mean, I remember we lived in a one-bedroom apartment. It was
Yeah.
myself, my sister, my mom, my grandma, and my grandma's brother, so my uncle.
Wow.
So there's what's that? One, two, three, five of us in that one
Yes.
bedroom.
Hmm.
Um, and then obviously my mom started making changes and stuff. But I just knew that I wanted to go to school.
Yeah.
Didn't know what I wanted to go to school for because I wanted to be one of the first ones in my family
Yeah.
to graduate high school,
Yeah.
but also go to college as well too. So I had no idea what I really wanted to do. I just know um, I was going to do something,
Yeah.
but I had really no idea.
Right.
So
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. I think we have similar backgrounds with that, man. I mean, well, both my father and my mother were together, but I grew up a little bit without my father for a couple years. He was incarcerated, so I didn't really know who he was until after that. But go to say about like the first in the family stuff. That was also me.
yeah,
It was one of the things that like during those years I was travieso, but I still, had that in my mind. I'm like, man, I want to graduate. I want to be the first one to do that, and I did it.
yeah.
Thankfully. So then, at that moment of let's talk a little bit about like the story of where the separation of your father. Like, how did that was that a positive? Was it a negative? What were those some of those things, those feelings at those season of your life?
I don't think that separation can ever be only one.
Right.
Um, all in all, long term, it was a more positive at the moment,
Yeah.
and um, obviously doesn't feel very
Right.
positive as a kid. I remember being in kindergarten, walking to the bus stop, and just hoping that my dad would show up.
Yeah.
But as the years went on, obviously I knew that was for the better reason because
Yeah.
he wasn't one of the best guys around. He liked to drink a lot.
Right.
He would sleep around on my mom.
Mhm.
He actually got a woman pregnant, which is my brother, of a
Yeah.
brother, while he was with my mom.
Wow.
And he just would he was abusive.
Yeah.
So I remember I have vivid memories of him chasing us or my mom up the stairs and me trying to protect her.
Yeah.
And getting in the middle of it when I was small.
Yeah.
So good and bad.
Yeah.
I mean, all in all, it was a blessing. I mean, God had a plan. Everything happened for a reason.
Right.
So I don't think it was one or the other. It was a
Yeah.
combination of both. At
Yeah.
different times of my life, it was good and bad, and even
Yeah.
to this day,
Yeah.
it's still I still look back at that, and
Mhm.
it's in a lot of ups and downs. So
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit too, man. Like go you're out of high school and now you're journeying into life in a sense. Did you end up going to college?
yeah, so I
Okay.
went to Fresno State.
Okay, a bulldog.
Yeah,
Nice.
Bulldog, go
Hey.
Bulldogs. So like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go to school. You grew up and not having any family members going to college and stuff.
Right.
So I had no idea what was the route. And so I took my SATs like last minute.
Wow.
I applied last minute at a couple places, but I had no idea where.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I figured Fresno because I had a cousin on my real dad's side that was already living over there.
Yeah.
So, and growing up, he was a few years older, so we weren't really close.
Yeah.
I was kind of closer to his sister because she was more my age.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, what the heck, I'll apply and we'll see what happens. And
Yeah.
so I got in, and so I
Wow.
was like, all right. So I went down to Fresno and went to college. Like I said, I had no idea.
Yeah.
My parents helped out, with what they could, try to
Right.
get financial aid, had to take loans out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what did you go for? Did you just
So
what was your
again, like I
major?
said, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I at that time computers were getting a lot bigger, and I was
Yeah.
thinking, oh, I want to go to school, and I wouldn't mind making some games or something and
Yeah.
get paid for that.
Right.
And then so as I went to school, and I was like, yeah, I don't think this is me. I don't like to sit behind a computer all day long. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do, and my mom would tell me, I kind of have an idea what you should do, but you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And all the time, even in high school, I used to take people under my wing. Like I was a kind that would take in anybody,
Yeah.
and I didn't let any bullies pick on anybody.
That's
I
good.
was never one of the biggest people, but I would stand up to anybody,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and so I always had that respect with people,
Mhm.
So anyway, so in college, I started being a mentor at a couple of different high schools and stuff, and um, through there, and just through the college and stuff, and so I ended up going to school. I changed my major after taking like year and a half of
Wow.
um, computer science engineer
Yeah.
classes, so a lot of math classes that
Yeah.
barely passed.
Yeah.
And then so I ended up going into and getting a BA in liberal studies because I figured out that I wanted to end up being a social worker.
Yeah. Wow.
And so either a social worker or a counselor at a high school because I figured, I want to give back and be there for kids that went through similar situations that I went through that
Yeah.
I can connect with
Yeah.
and have that opportunity to have the connection with some that, maybe guys,
Yeah.
that don't have that father figure,
Right.
or even the girls that never had that father figure as well too. So
Yeah.
I ended up getting that my BA, but then, obviously life happened.
Yeah.
I got married, had my son, got my
Yeah.
daughter,
Yeah.
and then I kind of never went back to get my master's.
Yeah.
So I got my BA, but I didn't get my master's.
Yeah.
Be a social worker. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not too late.
You know what? So I've always the reason why I did that is
Yeah.
because I worked at a group home and I wanted to help, help kids and
Yeah.
because I was a counselor at a group home, and like I said, I've always been a mentor, trying to help out kids that were in trouble that
Yeah.
try to didn't have the family structure and so that's kind of what I wanted to do, right? Well, then
Mhm.
obviously I fell into insurance,
Yeah.
and insurance allowed me to be flexible for my kids.
Right.
And so it's kind of funny because I what I do now
Yeah.
through the chamber and through my business
Yeah.
insurance, I'm actually able to do things. I coached all my kids on all their sports.
That's
I was
awesome.
the president of the parent teacher club,
Mhm.
and I give back to the community. So I'm actually kind of doing it,
Yeah.
but in a different way.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But before we dive deep to Matt, now let's pause a little bit about. So you said you got married, right? So
Yeah.
right in college, right after college, you got your BA. So how did you meet your wife, man? And who is your wife?
Yeah. So she's gonna
You always
kill.
got to give a shout out,
Yeah.
man. I'm
Oh,
just
I
saying.
always do. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's a joke between us,
Yeah.
that I picked her up on the street.
Hey.
So let me explain that.
Yeah. Please.
So my first year out of high school, I
Okay.
was back in Modesto. I think I came down to see my sister graduate from junior high or high school.
Yeah.
I can't remember now. It's been so long. But I was driving down the street with a friend of mine, and we saw these two girls walking. And my friend was like, "Oh, I know those girls." I was like, "Oh, do you want to go get them right?" He's like, "Sure, let's go ask them." So we pull up, and my friend's like talking to him because my friend was actually dating a girl that was friends with them.
Got it.
That's kind of how they knew each other in high
Yeah.
school.
Wait, what were you driving?
So it was my parents' car. I think
Got
it
it.
was like a car that it was a hand me down or
Got it.
something. So
Okay.
nothing fancy or
Got
nice
it.
at all.
Okay. Okay. See,
Um,
that's a good start.
yeah. So anyway, so I pull up and
Yeah.
they're talking, and then her friend leans in and was trying to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, "No, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to your friend." And she was just like, "Oh," and then her friend was just like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So long story short, she didn't give me her number,
Yeah.
and then we started talking. I went back to Fresno. She was still in high school. This was my first year out, so I mean we're 3 years apart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so we started talking for a while, and then it's kind of funny. It's a joke because when I talked to her on the phone, like,
Yeah.
and my wife,
Yeah.
and her name's Adriana,
Yeah.
wonderful woman, but she was like on the phone, she would be cussing and this and
Yeah.
that, and she
Yeah.
was like trying to push me away. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
no, I could see through that. And I was like, I told her one day, I was like, yeah, you're the one.
Yeah.
And so she's the one that basically wrangled me in
Yeah.
because I ran the streets and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, that's how
Yeah.
we met. That's not where our story kind of got a little dark,
Right.
but
Mhm.
so basically we got married.
Mhm.
We dated for a long time,
Yeah.
and then she moved to Fresno. We got married, and then we had my son, then we had my
Mhm.
daughter. We actually got divorced when my
Yeah.
daughter was born.
Mhm.
And then we both moved back to Modesto,
Mhm.
and we were actually separated for about 4 years.
Wow.
Separated and divorced.
Mhm.
Really bad divorce. We
Wow.
did not like each other.
Yeah.
We went to court. I mean, it was ugly.
Yeah.
It was just it wasn't a fun situation.
Yeah.
At that point, I have a cousin of mine that invited me to go to Big Valley Grace,
Yeah.
and I grew up Catholic.
Yeah.
So and I really had no connection at all, and I would go to different churches here and there, just trying to find my
Yeah.
way. I felt empty,
Right.
and so I started going to a cousin of mine, and then it just stuck,
Wow.
and so I actually started going pretty regularly. My cousin stopped going, but I kept still going.
Yeah.
And then um, still trying to find my way and everything. But
Mhm.
so I was actually living with this girl, and she had talked about marriage and,
Yeah.
and having kids. And I was like, no, I don't want no more kids. I don't believe
Yeah.
in marriage.
Yeah.
And at the same time, my wife, she was actually living with somebody also. And the same thing, the guy wanted to get married, have kids. And she was
Yeah.
like, no, I don't believe in marriage.
Wow.
And so we still didn't talk.
Mhm.
And then, I'd continue to go to church and pray. And I actually would have dreams waking up, like crying, because I would, in my dreams, my family was back together.
Wow.
And so, but I would just, kept praying and praying, going to church. And then, so long story short, I left the girl and she left the guy around the same week or two.
Oh, wow.
Keep in mind, we did not talk to each other.
Right.
And so
Wow.
then after that happened, time went and we actually just started talking. We went and had dinner, and then we started dating each other. And
Yeah.
it was funny because we were like high school kids
Hey.
again, like sneaking around,
Yeah.
like her family didn't know, my family didn't know, we didn't want our kids
Wow.
to know just
Yeah.
because we didn't know what was
Oh,
happening
yeah.
yet,
Right. Yeah.
and so then we got back together in 2010, And then 2011, we got remarried.
Yeah.
But then we started going back down the same path again because, I was following God, but I wasn't following God.
Right.
Um, and so we actually were going to get separated again.
Yeah.
And so keep in mind, so we got married when my son was born.
Yeah.
We had the civil wedding,
Hmm.
and then a year later we had the church wedding at a Catholic church.
Hmm.
And so this was the third time we got married.
Wow.
And so she was ready out the door. We were going to call quits, and then I started reading the Bible
Yeah.
with my kids at home,
Hmm.
and finally, and she didn't want to go to church or with me. She didn't want to go to counseling with me.
Yeah.
And so I would start reading, and then so she actually, days, weeks later, it was a while. She
Yeah.
started actually sitting in, and she finally decided to go to counseling with me.
Wow.
And after that, I'm thinking, great, we're gonna go to counseling. She's gonna, they're gonna point out all the bad stuff
Yeah.
that she does, and they're gonna fix her. And
Yeah.
little did I know, I was the one that had a lot of the issues. And so
Yeah.
from that point on, I really gave it over to God. We actually both got baptized together.
Wow.
Our kids got baptized also too,
Yeah.
a few years
Yeah.
later,
Yeah.
but, and the rest is history,
Wow,
so, I
man.
mean, yeah, we still struggle, but
Yeah.
it's nothing like it was before, because
Yeah.
I have now God, my wife, and everyone else. And before I had that all mixed up.
Right, man. And thank you, Johnny, for opening up and being vulnerable about what your story. And um a lot of men who may be watching this may be kind of be going through that, right? Like,
Yeah.
and looking back in the history of how your life started, in a sense, with the separation of your father and other things, and share whatever you want to share. But I'm going to ask you a question about the feelings of, when the moments when you went to counseling, you said there was a lot of things in me that I needed to work out. So can you share a little bit of what that felt like? What was inside of you that maybe needed to get rid of?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the biggest thing was not following God, not putting God first.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing.
Mm.
Once I start putting Him first, and it's the pyramid. You have
Yeah.
God on top, and then myself, my wife,
Yeah.
and going that way. So we were going like that.
Mm.
So that was part of it. I mean, the
Yeah.
main thing was following God, but a lot of it was past history.
Yeah. Mm.
I grew up, obviously, with not my real dad. In the beginning, there was a lot of negativity.
Yeah.
And then my stepfather came in and, raised me, taught me a lot of stuff, but also still, it was just, it was different.
Yeah.
I was growing up. I grew up and I used to date different girls, and I was taught that, hey, that's a real man,
Right.
and
Mm.
I remember when, I started dating my wife, I was told that I was whooped,
Wow.
pee whooped.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not. And
Right.
so
Mhm.
there was just a lot of issues that I had to deal with.
Something to prove. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so it was my way, and that was it. And,
Yeah.
um, you know, it, it was really an entanglement, when the Bible says that you grow up, you get married, and you create your own family, and that
Yeah.
family comes first.
Right.
And your parents and everyone else becomes your secondary, or your,
Yeah.
and a lot of times we get that confused, especially
Totally.
in the Latinos. We
Yes.
keep that intertwined too much.
Right.
And so that was just a lot of the issues
Yeah.
as well too. So a lot of it was just past stuff and growing up certain ways, and
Yeah.
and not knowing any better.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well, that takes some courage, man, to step out as a man, especially a Latino man, and say, like, I want to go to get some counseling,
oh
right?
yeah, definitely.
And there's times where I've got counseling for myself.
Yeah.
It's there's things that sometimes that don't even recognize what are there, and it helps kind of sharpen or get the things out
Mhm.
of our life, right? And so, um, in the moments of, like, I'm just going to stay a little bit on that because I think that's important to your story. As far as in those moments of counseling, what was your feeling like? Like, I mean, you can be as real as you want, I'm sure. I mean, was it frustration? Was it what was going through you
Yeah.
at that moment?
A combination. I mean, like I said in the beginning, I was thinking, yes, they're gonna point out all her stuff,
Right.
and she needs to be fixed, and
Yeah.
and realizing that it was a slap in the face that,
Yeah.
no, guess what? You have your own issues you got
Yeah.
to work on. Yeah. It wasn't just her, it was myself. I had a lot of stuff to work through.
Yeah.
And it was, in the beginning, it was real. It was tough
Yeah.
because really my pride as a man
Come on.
would get in the way,
Mhm.
and my flesh would say no,
Right.
no, that's not right.
Mhm.
And so it was a struggle,
Yeah.
in the beginning, but as I read the Bible, went to counseling more, worked on this stuff, it began to get a little bit easier,
Yeah.
and knowing that it's okay to be vulnerable. So
Yeah.
it's okay to talk.
Mhm.
That's the biggest thing was communication
Yeah.
that there was lacking, and not standing up for my wife when it should have,
Right.
when I should be standing up for her.
Mhm.
And that's what, family, friends, or whatever, because the
Yeah.
way I grew up was, everybody made fun of each other and
Yep.
joked, but crossed that line to where it's not okay. It's
Yeah.
not respectful.
Totally.
There's difference of me and you mess around,
Yeah.
and say, hey,
Yeah.
Jose and
Yeah.
stuff. But,
Yeah.
and we joke around,
Right.
but it's all in fun, like fun, not,
Yes.
not at your expense,
Correct. Yeah.
And so, there was just a lot of emotions,
Yeah.
and to be honest, it took a long time, for me to figure another thing out. Another thing that I was really trying to get was, my mom would tell me, "Oh, I'm proud of you, good job," but
Yeah.
I've never heard my real father or my stepdad tell me
So
that I'm
good.
proud of you and that I love you.
Yeah.
And so finally one day I remember, because I was, would break down to my wife and I'd be
Yeah.
like, why does my real father not want me? Like, I have all these brothers and sisters,
Right.
and um, I mean, I know I'm not special, but I'm doing good things,
Yeah.
and I was like, what did I do that he doesn't want to be in my life or in my kid's life?
Yeah.
He had opportunities to come back into my kid's life. I opened the door and
Yeah.
he just chose not to.
Yeah.
And finally one day I was like, you know what? I don't need anybody's approval. All I need is
Yeah.
God's approval.
Right.
And I kid you not, when that happened, when I said that and I really believed it,
Yeah.
made such a difference. And believe it or not, like not even a year later, my dad, which my stepdad, which
Yeah.
I call my dad because he's raised me since I was younger,
Right. Mhm.
told me one day, "I love you and I'm proud of you."
Wow.
And that's,
Yeah.
so it's just a lot of emotions
Yeah.
going through that counseling and
Yeah.
trying to find my way, still working myself every single day.
Totally, man. No,
It's a nonstop process.
for real, that's a
Yeah,
fact.
yeah,
And yeah, man, I think that what you just said there, like going through the history of your life and just hearing like your story, where you come from, what you've been through, and then that moment of almost in a sense breaking, right? Like you went into the marriage with baggage.
yeah.
We all do.
Oh yeah,
So thankfully, you seeked help individually, couples, and so forth. And so the emotions that you're feeling is real.
yeah,
And there's men out there that are the same thing. But you went through that breaking process, and in that breaking process, you begin to feel that empowerment in your life. And God, obviously, He stepped in and intervened in your life, so now, like,
I allowed him to
yeah,
intervene.
exactly. That's
Yeah,
key. That
yeah.
is so key, because
He always wants to intervene. We
right.
just get in the way all the time.
Totally, we mess
Yeah.
things up,
Oh,
man.
I do all the time.
Amen.
I tell my wife all the time, sorry, but I was
Yeah,
like, when
good.
we talk to people and they ask
Yeah,
about our story, because I share it before, my wife didn't like sharing because she's like,
right.
that's our personal stuff. I was like,
Correct.
no, that's our testimony.
Correct. Yeah.
And so when we would share, I'm like, people would ask me, how do you do it? And I was
Yeah.
like, do you really want to know? They're like, yeah. I said, it's all God, because everything I do, or if I'm in control, I
Yeah.
break everything.
Facts.
I mess everything up,
Yeah.
so it's all God,
Yes.
so,
Yeah.
but what I'm off, not
You're
off
good.
subject to go back, but
Yeah.
one of the other things that really helped me change my life too was when I had my son.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
because I wanted to be, and then obviously when my daughter too, because there's a different bond between a son and a father and a daughter and a father.
Yeah.
I love them both and I have a
Right.
great bond with both of them. It's just different.
Yeah.
But when I had my son, I was like, I don't want my son to be the man that I was, and
Yeah.
I want to be the father that I always wanted to
Mhm.
my son. And obviously, when my daughter came around, same thing.
Yeah.
I wanted my daughter to make sure um, that she knew that she was loved,
Yeah.
and having a better relationship than my real father had with like my sister.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be that man or that, I guess, not the role model that I never had.
Correct. Yeah.
So and that's what I live by now is, and this is after we got back together, because
Yeah.
obviously I was still working stuff out because I didn't get it right, because
Right.
even after my kids were born I screwed a lot of stuff
Yeah.
up. But it's just being that role model, and I tell my kids all the time, and both of them know, and I love them both. And
Yeah.
shout out to my son, he's actually Navy Reserve, he just went on deployment.
Awesome.
So that's
Man.
one of the emotions I was talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
So he's going to be gone for 9 months.
Mm.
we actually get to see him this Sunday, and we're driving down to surprise, or we're going to surprise my wife for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
So he's still stateside right now, but then he'll leave overseas. So,
Awesome.
but yeah, I always tell my kids that, I want my son to be the man that I wasn't,
Yeah.
and and I don't want my son to treat any woman the way I treated my wife in the
Right.
beginning. And I tell my daughter, I don't want any man to ever treat her the way I treat her,
Yeah.
her mom. And, I don't want her to ever be with the guy that
Yeah.
treated,
Yeah.
the way I did. And I always tell my wife, I was like, what was wrong with you? You stuck around. I mean, like,
Right.
and it's a joke. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
glad, obviously.
Yeah.
And she would tell me, well, I would always see the man that you could be.
Yeah.
You just never saw it yourself.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. No, man, that is such a powerful story. And so in the moment of breaking, like those times of letting the frustration go and kind of dealing with yourself, you looked yourself in the mirror. And that's a hard thing to do,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I still do it all the time,
Yeah.
and I look myself in the mirror, and journeyman, we have these things we call 5 conversations of journeyman, and we've been working through this. We kind of, I don't know, you want to call it a prototype. We've been meshing. It's been ugly. It's been all over the place, but I think, if you have these conversations about commitment and accountability with yourself, you begin to see other things that you weren't able to really see until you kind of look at yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And so you kind of did that in that process. And so now, like, you've always been an entrepreneur. So from the get-go, you started entrepreneurship. Like, that was got into insurance right after high school. I mean, after college, right? You said?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about that journey, man. Like, how did you like think about insurance? What did that come from? Like,
So before I go into that, so
yeah.
kind of what you were talking about. So looking in the mirror, but also getting out of my own way.
Yeah.
Because like I said earlier, we tend to get in our way, and remember that it's not a flesh battle, it's a
Right.
spiritual battle.
Right.
And I try to remember that every single day, especially when I'm having problems with my wife or
Right.
with, the community or
Mhm.
my kids. I'm like, it's spiritual battle,
Yep.
the enemy's attacking. And,
Mhm.
so it's kind of want to touch on
Yeah.
that. And one thing that helped out too is, like I said, me and my wife got baptized by Pastor Rick Thompson from Big Valley Grace.
Okay.
Him and his wife became the first healthy relationship that was around, and they really helped us with our walk.
Yeah.
And then he baptized our kids, and then we've been in the small group with them ever since.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
so I kind of fell into insurance.
Yeah.
So, my daughter was just a baby. And actually, this is before we separated. So, I was working in Turlock. We actually came back to Modesto, and I was working in Turlock at a used car sales place where they rented cars.
Oh,
So in
wow.
Fresno, before my kids were born, I actually ran the Hertz rent a car in the Fresno airport. I
Oh,
was like
okay.
the second in command.
Oh, wow.
So this guy brought me on. So I started doing that at this place in Turlock. And I was actually working at a group home in Tracy for being a counselor. And I went in one day, and I was marketing. I would go out marketing stuff for, say, hey, if you want to rent a car, I went to insurance companies
Yeah.
or
Wow.
brokerages and stuff. And this one guy was like, dude, he's like, you need to meet my district manager. And I was like, nah, I'm okay. I'm not, I'm not about insurance.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I actually grew up, my mom, when she, met my dad, when we moved to Modesto, she actually started working for AAA.
Oh,
And
wow.
she actually was a claims adjuster. She's been doing it and still has done it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, that, I'm okay. And then, so I went back. He's like, dude, I'm telling you. I was like, all right, I'll meet him.
Yeah.
So I went and met him, and he's like, hey, I want you to come work for me. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, we're actually moving back to Fresno.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, that's perfect. That's actually my district still
Oh,
too.
wow.
So, well, let me talk to my wife, and then, kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Well, so then I decided, I was like, what the heck, we talked about it. And so I went up to Sacramento. That's back when you actually went to class
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
And took my test, and, I passed it the first time. And so
Wow.
we moved down to Fresno, and I started doing that. But then that's when, at that time, a few months later, is when me and my wife
Yeah.
separated.
Mhm.
So I kind of fell into insurance, and I kind of stayed in it just because I was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
I was pretty good at selling. And it wasn't because I was like a used car salesman. No
Right.
offense to used car salesmen,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
back in the day, you know, but
Right.
it was just because I built relationships,
Right.
and so it helped me out.
Yeah.
And so I kind of stayed into it. And then when me and my wife separated, I still did it. And then I actually, when me and my wife got back together, I was working for an insurance brokerage here in Modesto, and we talked about it, me and my wife, about maybe opening our business one day. And this is before we got divorced, and
Yeah.
opening something. We just didn't know what.
Right.
So I tend to uh, not like people tell me what to do, and I can follow the rules, but I
Yeah.
also don't like people telling me what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, I was working in the insurance brokerage, and I was, making them good money, and
Mm.
but they didn't treat us very well.
Right.
They didn't pay us, and so I walked away, and
Mm.
I went into and opened my own agency with farmers,
Yeah.
because at that time that was kind of the best bet. And that just wasn't working out for a few years, and I was ready to walk away. I was stressed. I'm
Yeah.
like done. I prayed about it. And every time that I've gotten to an uncomfortable situation, it's always been because God had another door for me to walk through.
Wow. Thanks.
And so even to this day, I don't like change, but I embrace it because I know something good is coming along
Yeah.
the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what happened. I was ready to walk away. I left farmers, and I opened up my own brokerage.
Yeah.
In 2017, which was Garcia Insurance at that time, GIA, and then we changed it a couple years ago to Got It All,
Yeah.
because people would always ask, so you do this, you do that. I'm like, yes, we got it all.
Yeah.
Plus, I was looking long term. I wanted to grow it and hopefully one day have
Yeah.
a few different offices and stuff. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of how I got into insurance, and
Yeah.
I fell into it. So my mom was doing the claims, I ended up doing the sales, but now it's just by chance.
Right.
So
Wow. So you said something that was key. Every time you started to feel uncomfortable is when God stepped in.
yeah,
That's
uncomfortable, or like something would happen, and I'm like, start to stress and think like, oh man, what am I going to do? This job is,
yeah.
I'm not comfortable no more. And I would pray about it, and sure enough, something would come up. I would
Yeah.
just leave it to him, and
Yeah.
another door would open up that was better, and it's been like that ever since.
Yeah.
I always tell my wife all the time, change is good. We just need to go with it
Right.
and figure it out. We pray, leave it to God, and He'll take care of the rest.
That's key, man, because again, Journeyman is seeking to highlight and strengthen men in the areas of faith, family, and community. So far, you've hit two. Okay, you've hit your bucket of family, the situations that you stepped in. You stepped into the arena of taking care of yourself and kind of looking at within yourself and dealing with the inner man of Johnny, so you can be a better man for others with your family. And you've done that, and you're still doing that. It's a work in process. Nobody's perfect. If somebody
No,
comes on here saying, "I got it all down,"
they're lying.
they lying, man. No
Yeah.
way. But and then you also stepped into an arena of entrepreneurship, and that's a big one. You know,
Yeah.
um, you know folks like you, like you just said, like I don't like people to tell me what to do. They're usually their own boss,
Yeah.
which is awesome. I have this entrepreneur spirit in me. The card, like the doors haven't opened up for me to start my own,
Yeah.
but the Lord has gifted me differently to do different ministries or different things of that sort, which similar to businesses. But I love the fact that you hit upon how faith is important to all that aspect, right? Because when we're uncomfortable, that's usually when it's something big is coming. And I love that you said that. And so if you're watching this, go back and listen to the beginning, and once this is over and you can kind of hear Johnny's story and the reason why he's where he's at now. But if you're looking for insurance, this guy's got it all. He's got it all. So there's a Q code on the screen. Give them a call for all your insurance needs. Can you give me your top 10 products, or what is some of the things that you focus on? Or
Yeah. So business insurance,
Mhm.
workers' comp, bonds, health insurance, group health, group life, dental, vision, Cover California.
Yeah,
Those are our main ones that we do. We do auto and home as well too, but we focus more on the other part of it,
got it.
life insurance, all that stuff. And it's kind of worked out again.
Yeah,
God working again. A couple years ago, before COVID, I was already kind of moving our office away from just focusing on auto and home only,
yeah,
and really going into the business and all that stuff. And then COVID comes around,
Wow.
and guess what?
Wow.
And so it's been real disruptive in the industry in California for the auto insurance and homeowners insurance. And I'm sure everybody that's watching their rates have gone up. They've been shopping around. They can't find anything. And so thankfully, because we made those changes prior to COVID, when COVID came around and then all the stuff, it's actually, we've been okay during all that. So those are our main things that we kind of focus on. So
no, that's awesome. So if you're looking for some insurance, go ahead and give the scan on the Q code or go to gottitallagency.com. You'll find more information, and it's anywhere, right? Anywhere in the United States, you can do anything in
California, Texas, and Arizona.
Perfect. There you go. So if you live in those states,
all over the other place, but
it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
Because you're about to get uncomfortable again.
Yep. Oh, and speaking of that, you guys, it's okay to be uncomfortable. Embrace that.
That's right.
If you want to succeed, you have to live outside your comfort zone and be uncomfortable, because that's when we grow. It's just like, the rough times, like, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
When you're going through that process of that, they're pounding and then they're burning and getting rid of all the impurities, and sharpening that iron. So,
right. Oh, that's so good, man. That is so good. And I think that's key, man, because for any kind of how do you say this, like to step into any type of arena, like you think about a boxer or I don't know, a wrestler or UFC or something. You're stepping into a fight usually, but it's a crowd full of people, and usually you're probably got all these butterflies going on. Like, just, I mean, I know when I do big events or speak at somewhere, I'm like going in the fire in a sense that I'm like nervous as heck, and I'm like, oh God, all these feelings come in. But when you're in that, it's like you're looking at yourself again, and to kind of like take that leap of faith in a sense, right? Knowing that, no matter what backgrounds we come from, no matter whatever we, dealt with in the past, if we stay in that realm of challenging ourselves, we're going to continue to grow. I love that.
Yeah. And, one of my favorite verses is Isaiah 41:10. God talks about, fear not, for I'm with you. Be not dismayed, for I'm your God. I'll strengthen you and help you and uphold you with my righteous right hand. That's what helps me out all the time, because I get nervous all the time. I do not like speaking in front of people at all. And go figure, I run, the chamber, have to do all these speeches.
Yeah.
Even before this, when I was waiting in the parking lot because somebody was running a couple minutes late.
It wasn't me.
I text my wife and I was like, I am super nervous and I have no idea why, but I get like that. But then I do all this stuff, because I put myself in these positions because I'm here for others, not for myself.
So
I pray every day that I'm not here for myself. I'm here to be a light, and hopefully somebody out there, something I said has resonated or has helped you out. So, I do these things to help others out, not for myself at all.
I heard
because
that,
if it was up to me, I'd be at home in my house watching TV or doing some yard work or going for a run or something. And I would not be out in the public doing all this stuff because my stomach turns.
I heard that, man. Now let's dive in a little bit, man, too, more about kind of where you're at now with the Stanislaus Latino Chamber of Commerce, man. So I know we served on the board together there when I think I was kind of exiting, you were entering.
Yeah, I came on and you left. You're like, peace out. I can't
Johnny's
deal with this guy.
Mess things up, man.
And I definitely have.
I'm just kidding.
That
was a joke.
I was shaking things up.
No, that's good. So you, what year was that? That was 2000.
It was about 16, 17, because that's actually when I left Farmers and opened up my own. So I was in transition when I first came on the board, which I had no idea who the chamber was.
Right.
I was like, who?
Exactly. Same.
Chamber what?
Same.
And I was like, what the heck? I'll try it out. But I actually, after my first year, I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm done. I can't go out there and do all that. But so that's how you and I met.
Yeah. And again, like putting yourself in an uncomfortable place.
Definitely. I would walk in these places. I had no idea who people were.
Yeah.
It actually started a few years before when I became a farmer's agent in 2011. I joined the Modesto Chamber.
Yeah.
And I wanted to work smarter, not harder. I wanted to meet the people that made decisions in the community.
Yeah.
And I was at that time part of the parent teacher club, and then I started running it. I was a president for a few years at Heart Ransom.
Yeah.
And so I became, an ambassador. I became a welcome team member. So I started meeting a lot of people, and I had to break through a lot of barriers because I was one of the only Latinos that were out and about all the
Right.
time, and especially in that realm,
Yep.
And so then that's when I got approached by the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
and then, but being uncomfortable, I started, joining
Yeah.
before and then doing this. And then, yes, definitely was uncomfortable.
Yeah, man. So now you're let me put this up there here. Let's see if I can. Should show. Where is it at? There it is. Yeah. On the top left of your screen, there's a Q code again for Stanislaus Latino Chamber of Commerce. If you are a local business owner and looking to get connected to all the great things that the chamber does here locally, give them a follow them, or join the chamber. It's a great organization doing some good things for our small businesses here in the region. Um, so now you're the president CEO of Stanislaus Latino Chamber of Commerce. Now, what does that do? What is it? What is, I mean, what's the mission? What's the vision? What does that look like?
Yeah, definitely. So our focus is small businesses, but we all do a lot for big businesses and community members and nonprofits as well too. So we have a lot of our members are small businesses, big ones, different banks.
Yeah.
Your bank is one of them.
Mhm.
Different schools like Stan State, San Joaquin Valley College,
Yeah.
different tech schools, different nonprofits.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different nonprofits that are a part of our chamber as well too. Modesto Gospel Mission, STEP, all these different ones.
Yeah.
And so our mission is to bridge the gap between the Latino and non-Latino groups, and that
Mm.
really entails everybody.
Yeah.
That goes from, it could be the business owner to their employees to the community to their clientele that they work with,
Yeah.
and anywhere in the valley. If you're in the valley, that percentage is pretty high that you're going to have some
Right.
kind of clientele.
Totally.
And so basically what we do is we're a voice to the voiceless.
Yeah.
When you're a small business owner, especially small businesses, you're busy working in your business. You don't get to work on it. You don't have
Right.
time to go look at find these different resources. And
Yep.
so I've used a lot of the mistakes that we've made in our own business,
Yeah.
because growing up, we didn't have any family members that own businesses.
Right.
So we basically learned, and we're still struggling
Yeah.
because of stuff that we didn't know. And now we're trying to teach that
Yeah.
out there. So we have different types of trainings, different resources.
Yeah.
We have a marketing training coming up next in like 2 weeks. We do ribbon cuttings, mixers. We have a foundation, so we give out scholarships every year too
Love it.
to high school seniors and youth that are just in their first few years of college.
Yeah.
So we have that foundation as well too. So we're advocate for our community. So
Yeah.
our main footprint is Stanislaus County, but we do have members in Merced and San Joaquin.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we're not politically driven, but we do have great relationships with all the different politicians
Yeah.
and their staff, because that's just part of a community.
Yeah.
Government and non-government. It's not us and them. It's us all
Yeah.
together. It's not you
Right.
and them. It's us.
Yeah.
So that we really try to bridge that gap between that as well too, because there's a lot of good people in the government, especially locally, that
Yeah.
want to do great things.
Right.
So yeah, that's different things that we do. We
Yeah.
have these boot camps. Most of our stuff's done in English.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, "Well, I'm not Latino." No problem.
Right.
We have a Sikh on our board. We have
Yeah.
people that are white,
Yeah.
Chinese.
Yep.
So we have different nationalities as well
Mhm.
too. And well, I don't speak Spanish. So that's great. Most of the stuff is done in English.
Mhm.
We do stuff in Spanish when we're in different markets. So
Right.
that's one thing that we're able to do, English and Spanish.
Yep.
Like we have these Spanish boot camps that we're going to be holding this month. Well, one will be in May, one
Yeah.
in Patterson, one in next month will be in Turlock and
Yeah.
Riverbank. So basically, we go out to the community because we are countywide,
Yeah.
and so we really try to meet our members of where they're at.
Yeah.
So
No, that's
that's kind
awesome,
of the
man.
short version of what we do.
Yeah, man. So like with the chamber, man, like what is one thing that you feel like seeing the members and the people that you serve, what is one big challenge that you're seeing facing now?
Employees.
Employees.
That's
Yeah.
probably one of the biggest things, and that's a struggle. And even us in our business, trying to find somebody to. By the way, we need somebody that does commercial insurance to take over my spot in my
Yeah.
office, because our chamber is just blowing up, and
Yeah.
we're doing so much stuff, and I need to step away from the
Right.
insurance part of it. But it's difficult to find reliable, quality employees right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to work, but they don't want to. They want to get the check, but they don't want to work for it.
Right.
So
Totally.
that's probably one of the biggest challenges that are we see, and also funding,
Yeah.
especially in that Latino market, because a lot of times, if you look at it in different nationalities, they have generation. They've been here for generations, so they have this knowledge. Not
Yeah.
that they're any better, but are smarter, but they just have these years of experience where they
Right.
hand it down from generation to generation to generation.
Yep.
And most of ours, one or two generations.
Yeah.
Maybe you might have a third generation, but most of it's 1 and 2 generations. So
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of information to pass down.
Yeah.
And so that's what we really try to do, is that we're building that pipeline, to build, and it's, and educate. You only know what you know,
Right. Right.
so.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So you talk about funding now. You talk about access to capital. Is that what you were talking about? Funding for small businesses?
Yep. And a lot of times, a lot of small businesses don't have, or even know what a P&L is,
Right.
or they do their stuff on spreadsheets, or on a piece of paper. And
Yeah.
I'm to blame too, to
Right.
be honest. And
Yeah.
I preach a lot of stuff, but I've had a lot of different bad habits or not bad habits, just stuff I didn't know.
Correct.
And so it makes it hard when, because a lot of times we don't like to ask for help, or we don't know how to ask for help. And so
Yeah.
we use our own money.
Yep.
And that's biggest thing that we're trying to teach, because that different nationalities that have been here longer
Yeah.
know how to use their resources and leverage. And
Yeah.
a lot of times we don't, or we get told, oh, you don't ask for help,
Right.
or
Yeah.
we don't know how to set things up, and then so when a bank looks at us, they're like, oh, I don't want to give you money, even
Yeah.
though we have everything in order.
Yeah.
We're on top of stuff, but it's just we might have made some bad decisions because we didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So
No, that's key, man. And so now, Johnny, like just looking at the chamber, and we're kind of wrapping up the conversation here, but looking at the chamber, like in your life, did you ever think you would land here at the chamber?
absolutely not. My wife would actually tell me in the beginning, she's like, why are you going to another event?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
You should be at home. And
Yeah.
and now, she's one of my biggest,
Yeah.
not supporters. She's one of my biggest helps. If
Yeah.
it wasn't for her, our chamber wouldn't be where it's at right now,
Yeah.
because of
Beautiful.
all the work that she puts in. And it's a family thing. Our son, comes out, our daughter comes out.
Yeah.
One thing I've always done in our business, I never neglected my family.
Yeah.
People would tell me, oh, you got to make sacrifices and miss things. Nope. I went to every single game, coached every sport that I was able to,
Yeah.
went to all their school events. And, look where we're at,
Yeah.
So,
Beautiful.
but yeah, no, I had no idea that I would be at where I'm at right now. Like I said, I'm more of an introvert.
Yeah.
One-on-one, I like talking to people, but
Yeah.
out in rooms, it's different, but I pray every day that God has me, or I use the gifts that He's given me, and
Yeah.
the platform that He's created all this platform for me.
Yes.
There's nothing I've done.
Right.
Every day, I say it's because of Him, and so
Yeah.
because He's created that platform, all I'm doing is getting up in the morning and following Him and listening to Him. Because
Yeah.
other than that, I would, like I said, mess everything up. But yeah, I have no idea that I would be doing what I'm doing right now. I've never stepped into any of these roles, even the parent teacher club, coaching, not because I was like, oh, I want to go do that.
Yeah.
No, it was because I got pushed into it, or God opened that door and
Right.
pushed me and said, okay, this is the plan I have for you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Wow, Johnny, man, I just want to give you some kudos, man. Just stepping into the arena of faith, family, and community, your life. That's all it is. You stepped into the arena in different areas, and now you're kind of living out your mission in a sense of what God's called you to do, and it's beautiful to see, man. And just knowing you, Johnny, like who you are as a person, and one of the things that I learned from Patrick, my other co-host, he says, why give somebody flowers at the funeral when you can give it to them when they're alive?
Absolutely.
And so part of this is just kind of giving you flowers and giving you kudos, man. And thank you for stepping into that arena of a fatherhood, one of a businessman, man of integrity, one who looked himself in the mirror and said, I got some things I got to fix in order for me to move forward in my life. And then too, in the area of faith, man, like God has just used you in different areas to bring out, things that you never thought. in your life, and now look at you're a CEO of two businesses, pretty much,
Yeah.
and then a CEO of a family. And so, thank you for stepping into the ring, man, and thank you for sharpening us tonight with your story. And if you didn't get a chance to watch this from the beginning, go back and you can just hear the amazing story of Johnny and who he is and where he's come from. But I want to give you one last moment. Is there any one-liners or anything that you can share with the audience of men? Uh,
Yeah. Well, first of all,
yeah,
I again got to thank my wife, Adriana, my son, Johnny, and my daughter, Sally, because of them, obviously God first, but because of them, I am who I am, and I'm able to do what I do because of the support that they give me.
yeah,
Because if it wasn't for that, and I tell my wife all the time, if we're not good at home,
yeah.
I can't deal with anything.
So
If we're
good.
good at home, I can deal with any problem
Yeah,
in the world,
so good.
because as long as I'm good there, then everything is good.
Yeah,
But like I said, Isaiah 41:10, just know that you're not alone.
yeah.
A lot of times the enemy wants us to think that we're alone and feel ashamed and that we're the only ones going through this problem, and
Mm,
you're not. There's somebody out there that has gone through it or is going through something similar. Just know that you're not weak for asking for help and reaching out. Iron sharpens iron. That's why we need to surround ourselves by people that will lift us up and help us out, because nobody can do it alone.
yeah,
Nobody's a self-made millionaire. Nobody has great relationships on their own. It takes people, and it takes God, obviously. So
yeah,
put
man.
God first, and then everything else will fall into place.
Yeah.
As hard as it is, and move out of the way, and remember, it's a spiritual battle, not a flesh battle.
Oh man, that's so good. Well, I'm excited and I'm thanking you, Johnny. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to get more information with Got It All Insurance, we'll put it up again for you. Scan that code. And then again, the chamber website, it's actually changing, but you can scan it. It'll be there. You can go to it. It'll link you to the new website here pretty soon. Shout out to Brian Justin Marks. He's taking a watch today. The other fellow journeyman.
Yeah, see you in a minute. We got to go take
Yeah,
some stuff for our dinner.
yeah,
I'm running a few
exactly.
minutes behind. Not my fault.
Yeah, no, it's
Jose's
my
fault.
fault. It's my fault. But anyhow, next month we'll be here. Man, we got a Father's Day special coming on in June, and so tune in to the second Thursday of the month. We'll be here with the Father's Day special and just have a conversation with fatherhood and see how it goes from there. It's going to be fun. But again, do us a favor, hit the like, subscribe, share this broadcast with all your networks, so people can get to know who Johnny is and what he's doing here locally in the community and nationwide. And I think the Johnny also had another kicker for us to end. So I'm going to play a little bit of this song.
And it's what God's doing and not what I'm doing.
That's
I'm just
right.
allowing him, I'm opening the door. So
Yeah.
and just following what he has to say and do. It's not me that's doing anything out there. It's all him. I'm just listening.
Yeah, man. Again, thank you for stepping into the arena and the areas of faith and the community, man. And keep journeying out. This is Journey with Lecrae, and we will see you guys next month. God
Blessings,
bless
everybody.
But today we must take a wider look. Because of modern communication and modern technology, the whole world has become our neighborhood. And we are demographically moving closer and closer to each other, and we've become a neighborhood without becoming a brotherhood.
Journeyman is a platform where men can lay down their titles, grow together, learn from each other, and be accountable to each other. Many of us deal with several problems throughout our lives, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. At times, we may feel alone in our troubles. However, Journeyman is a space where you can feel safe expressing yourself with other men that are on the same path. Journeyman is a space for people like myself who never thought they would be living purposefully in their life.